Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Preseason Week 3 of the LCUS, brought to you by GMA Gaming. It's Kenos here, back again after my departure last week, and I'm casting today with Sig. How you doing, Sig?
I'm doing incredibly well. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. Excited to get this going. We're doing something special today. We're doing a uh, double elimination kind of free-for-all captain's pick tournament. Um, just kind of holding everything together and in place until our preseason wraps up and we start the full season in the next week or two. Just kind of looking at the team layout that we have so far, Sig, what do you think we're going to be seeing out of these games?
Well, this first game I think is going to be really exciting. We're looking at Team One and Team Four right now out of our brackets, and there's some. I think the thing that's going to be most interesting is the fact we have such a large skill gap between some of these players. Where this is get gym class, pick your teams. We're really going to have to see how these teams adapt to playing outside of their normal play pool.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is something that is definitely a highlight, or should I say, feature of the LCUS, since it is the league championships for the rest of us. It's just a whole wide range of skill set, not necessarily so much the equivalent kind of skill sets you expect to see from professional play. So definitely seeing, golds and silvers going up against people who might have a little more experience or at least game sense. Can be interesting to see how they adapt in those particular situations. Maybe they can shoot above their weight class.
I certainly hope so. And if anybody's going to be swimming in the big kids pool today, it's going to be Team One. They're going up against Team Four, which includes the Clark. He's a master tier player. So I'm wanting to see what they pull out of their hats in order to compensate for this huge discrepancy. But Tilted Snorlax on their team is Plat 4 right now. So who knows? Could be a pocket win for him.
Yeah, and I mean, that's always something to be said about the ranking system, is that there's always people who, maybe through bad luck or just, maybe a couple of bad games end up being ranked lower than they're actually meant to be. So, a platinum level player or even, maybe a gold level player could be someone who could stand up to someone like the Clark or other similarly high tiered players, assuming their coordination is on point. We definitely have seen in the last couple of weeks that coordination plays a big part in these sorts of games. But that being said, of course, there have also been, at least in certain instances, one player kind of just carrying the whole team behind them. So we'll see how that shakes up in this particular instance in these games.
Most definitely, and like you said, with the how they might run into a hard row of games. If we look at the win rate percentages of some of these players, as with the past split, past season, Oceanic Abyss has a 63% win rate, while the Clark, who we're talking so much about on this other team, he's only sitting at 50. There might be something that Oceanic is doing right now that's provided some real change and upward momentum for him. Hopefully, the rest of the team can pick up on it.
Yeah, definitely. And especially when it just comes around to the basics of figuring out what sort of lane presence we're looking at as well. Obviously, with these mixes of players that we're seeing, they may have, varying strengths and weaknesses in various lanes, and the need to compensate for that may push into weaker or stronger matchups for one team or another, depending who's good at what role.
Most definitely.
Yeah, one of the difficulties, of course, of the captain's bracket is that we just, it's a question of how much was player skill brought into consideration as opposed to how much was a person's role brought into consideration. Without speaking to the captains directly, I'm not sure if somebody just voted for or picked everyone who's, let's say, using the basketball example, a great point guard without necessarily considering who would be under center. And so, keeping that in mind, it's possible someone may have a team may have a weaker selection, something like a weaker bit of the jungle, for example. Though obviously, without knowing these players personally, I can't say who has the weaker in which role.
Agreed. It's difficult to look at the stats for each player when we're looking at this gym class kind of pick situation, because who knows the logic that was going in. They might have picked a friend. They might have picked someone who they thought they could that they could balance the scales with in a lane against the other people that have listed themselves in that position. So without that kind of knowledge, it's all speculation. But I'm really excited for this first game, which should be starting here shortly.
Yeah, definitely. Just kind of waiting on one more player to slip in there. And once that gets wrapped up, we will be moving straight to the champion selection, where, as we've been basically saying this whole time, it'll be really interesting to see how the champions pick out, especially with the more highlighted players like the Clark, like Tilted Snorlax, and just a question of if there's going to be a lot of targeted bans directed at those players, or if they'll just be more general considerations for which lanes the teams thinks they'll have a better chance at, depending what the Clark may end up going.
I think it is going to be a lot of counterplay. I think it would be foolish with the tool set available to him for not to use those tools, see what he's been playing a lot recently, and really call him out. You got to expose the weaknesses of your strongest player, and that's what I think they're going to do.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it looks like we do have the last player locking in here, so we should be starting in a moment. The game one of this captain's draft. And then once this game is wrapped up, we'll be going into the losers game just to make sure that we can see who will then be moving on to the final round once the winner's bracket is complete as well. So, 3 games tonight. Hope you'll stick around for all 3. And we should be rolling as soon as the teams finish getting organized. Probably just having a discussion about what what lanes everyone's going to go in, so they know their rules when they're going into the picks.
Definitely. I would love to be in these chat rooms with these players right now to hear these conversations. You're really having to self evaluate. I know that I prefer to play ADC. I want to be in that carry position. But does my team need me as support right now with some other power players that have been drafted with?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it may be a question where you're willing to sacrifice something, maybe go to your second or third preference, just so that a player of, a little more confidence gets into that spot and is able to work well against the opposition they're looking up against. So yeah, definitely excited to see what direction this goes. Especially because especially when it comes to the first couple of bans, because right away when we see those, we'll know if they're going more of a general meta consideration or if they'll be doing that targeted suite, which was of course a big highlight of all the games in week one.
Most definitely. With the players we have in position right now, uh, what picks and bans from your experience? You've played with a lot of these players. What can we look for?
Well, generally, it comes down a lot to reactionaries and what's hot. I mean, a lot of these players might be looking to spin up with something a little bit more on the niche side, just to try to keep everyone on their toes. Of course, there's Jinx is a very strong pick. Lucian, people like that I know a couple of these players have enjoyed quite a lot. But I think it just will come down to what the bans are. I'd hate to predict something and hype up a champion selection, then it get taken out first ban, and then I'll be like, well, I don't know what's going on now. So we'll just have to wait and see. Looks like there was one quick technical difficulty with someone that's getting resolved right now, and then we'll be moving on up.
Most definitely. I think a late change has been made. Tilted Psyduck wasn't on any of the rosters that were registered with us ahead of time. So we will just have to see how that change plays into this game. They are ranked Platinum 3 right now, so that's definitely going to be a counterbalance to what we've been talking about with Team 2 and the Clark.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, especially for those of you at home who can't see the team selections right now, we've got 2 platinums and 3 silvers against a master, 2 silvers, a bronze, and a provisional. So that, depending on the law, how you read the law of averages, that kind of balances out. So definitely interested to see how this game goes once it actually gets locked in and ready.
Definitely, definitely. Uh, looking at Team 2 with the position they're in, if I were in their shoes, if I was making the decisions for this team, I'd definitely put Clark in a carry position. And probably someone along the lines of Huge. He's got some games under his belt here recently that have been really impressive, and I think that would give them a large opportunity to I think they're going to want to feed Leclerc, make us like a tank and spake in old WoW days, really protect him, make sure that he's able to keep things going and push those objectives.
Certainly, and I mean, I'm sure that's something that Tilted Snorlax's team would be expecting. And with that in mind, it then becomes a question of, well, will they be then in a position to take advantage of whatever lane the Clark isn't in? Because if they put him in like a really heavy, like, ganking jungle role, like say Rengar, or if they put him in an ADC role, maybe they can take advantage of the mid lane and push something with that. So, and of course, it's all going to come down to who the jungle is for Tilted Snorlax's team as well. Because if the Clark is put in that carry position, if the jungler can get in such a way and shut Clark down, that could really give the other team an advantage with those two platinum players. But it just have to wait and see depending on what kind of jungle situation we're looking at. But we're going right into the picks now, so we'll get ready to roll with that.
Blitzcrank's the first one out. I will tell you, based off the statistics from this most recent season, that is a targeted ban to the Clark. So what we've called so far, 100% gospel.
Yeah, it'll certainly be interesting, especially if they're trying to move the Clark into that sort of carry role. A Blitzcrank ban might be wasted, but we'll have to see what goes on. Of course, Blitzcrank is always a great character to get out of there with his slightly game-changing CC that just kind of throws in and ruins everybody's day.
Definitely. And we see a Sona band coming on along the red side. That's interesting. With targeting these supports, we're really going to see a game where we're limiting the CC.
Now an Ezreal ban, so getting rid of some of that flexibility there, which it would be especially deadly in the hands of either team, considering that Ezreal picks early, as we've seen before, can kind of throw off guesses and picks for the opposing team.
Most definitely. Also, we're looking at a Yorick ban on the red side, so that's going to limit some of those top options that we're going to see for. Well, we don't have their roles yet. Usually I'd call that out, but we don't have their roles yet.
And Zoe ban, I think that's definitely a great choice considering the amount of talent we have in this game. Don't necessarily want such a new character being able to be in the hands of someone with great mechanical skills, especially in a tournament setting like this.
She's been the biggest pain in my side when I've been going through normal games this past week. It's difficult to adjust to someone with that difficulty level. That it's either she's on my team and she's doing wonderful, she's on the enemy team, she's doing wonderful, or no one understands what's happening. And we do see some picks coming along.
Certainly, we got Lulu picked out by Tilt Snorlax, Gnar by Huge, and it looks like Cheney is working on the second pick for the red team here. So support and probably most likely top lane locked in here, and jungle probably as well with Gragas there. So
I like to see that pick, and that's going to be some unexpected ganking potential that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, definitely. That Gragas can do a lot of crazy things. Of course, it always comes down to, can he actually use his barrel effectively? Get those either game-changing knockbacks or those disappointing airball reels that come out later.
Most certainly. And Draven, next pick on the blue side, extreme carry potential if he's not managed early game.
Yeah, especially crazy because, I mean, right away now we have the blue team declaring their bot lane. So it'll be interesting to see how red team responds to this with both their picks, and also how blue team decides to protect this by selecting a few more choice bans as we move into the second round in one moment here.
Definitely. Cho'Gath coming along on the blue side. More late game potential that they're going to have with this Cho'Gath and Draven.
Yeah, certainly, and that'll be something definitely to think about as we're waiting for the Q timer to wear down once these picks are done. But then we have the Vhagar coming out on the red side. Definitely could be something powerful in the hands of one of these higher tier players. Get incredibly fed and simply stun and delete the opposing team, especially characters that are squishy like Draven. And a Vel'Koz ban. Interesting there. Probably just trying to protect the Vhagar a little bit. And also reducing some of that longer range utility that the other team might have. Blue team right now doesn't really have any super long range champs. You'll notice that Caitlyn also being locked out is negating that range advantage as well.
Very much so. Thresh ban, another targeted ban towards the Clark if they think he's playing in the support role. Uh, this this does seem like they're looking to keep this on the short side without the ability to get those long range pulls for those picks. You're going to see they want to keep this close in person.
Yeah, definitely. It is interesting that with both Thresh and Blitzcrank taken out, there's going to be very little of that surprise displacement down in the bot lane. So, you know, you can be a little more confident in your footing. Unless, of course, there's a crazy Alistar pick here that... but we'll have to see.
That would be exciting. And with the last two bans being Zed and Vayne, we're seeing a lot of targeting the late game now. Maybe they're trying to anticipate what choices are going to be made on the blue side with that mid lane.
All right, a Misfortune pick here. That's definitely been popular here and the LCUS for the last couple of weeks. So not necessarily surprising, but also probably comforting for the blue team now knowing what kind of carry they're dealing with so they can try to adapt to that.
With the incredible team fight potential that she provides, along with the choice of Gnar, there's some real damage coming late game on the red side.
Yeah, especially with Vhagar's massive AoE stun. He drops that down, even if he doesn't stun and just traps people in it. If Misfortune gets her ultimate off on that cone, there's not going to be anything left standing. So we'll have to see if that combo comes into play as the blue team wraps up their last two picks with Sejuani and Fizz.
I'm seeing a lot of pick potential on the blue team. A lot of survivability. Late game Cho'Gath 9 killable. Sejuani with the AoE stun. Lulu being able to prolong those team fights with her whole kit, and Fizz just being the insane damage machine that he is. I'm foreseeing some strong picks on this side, with team fight being the key word for the red team tonight.
Yeah, definitely. And a Leona last pick there. So definitely a heavy CC kit coming out of the red team. But as you were saying, blue team also has a fair amount of CC on their side. A lot of single or group target elimination. So it'll be interesting to see who utilizes those stuns better to lock down the more powerful players on either team respectively.
And now we're just waiting it out. We still have 2-minute delay between the actual start of the game and us kicking everything off.
Yeah, definitely, and that was something that I was going to use as a little bit of an advantage to go into a little bit of deeper analysis on this. If we're looking at some of the picks, like we were saying, a lot of the longer range characters have been removed from the equation here. We've lost the Caitlyn, the Vel'Koz, the Ezreal, the Zoe, and so with that in mind, it seems as though everything is going to be very much more of a mid-range game. But there are some longer range possibilities too, especially with Misfortune. Gnar's Boomerang, of course, can be very annoying with the poke. What are your thoughts on how the range game is going to play out with this, especially when it comes to when we were discussing earlier that they might want to try to shut down the Clark, but don't necessarily have any long range way to poke him down? You there, Zig?
Lord have mercy. It's like I forgot how microphones work. Sorry about that, Kinos. Looking at it, I really think that Red Side's going for a pick comp just to target the Clark. I think that they're confident enough in their skills that if they're able to manage and mitigate his ability, his skill, and what he brings to that team, they're going to be able to manage the rest. Because if you look at that comp, outside of the Vigart, there's no real heavy damage potential. Nar, if he builds correctly, but I really think they're going to build him tank in this comp. So it's going to be hinged on reaching for the Clark.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they could, like you said, if the Gnar builds tank, there's going to be three really large bodies protecting and holding off targets trying to dive in on the Vagar and the Misfortune. But that being said, with the Fizz can get into the back line regardless of what your tanks want to have happen. So,
He certainly can.
yeah, definitely. If Fizz gets one or two picks early game, he might be able to snowball pretty easily and shut down, if not both Vagar and Misfortune, at least one or the other, which could then, obviously leave room for the Draven and the Sejuani and to work their magic and take out the others.
Well, the good thing about what Blue Team has done is they've created the ability with their Cho'Gath, with their Sejuani, and with the Lulu Polymorph. They're going to be able to manage any front line. Fizz being able to reach farther back. Draven with his ultimate being able to get those final kills to really seal the deal in those team fights. So it's going to be exciting. I mean, this all hinges on if they're going to be able to penetrate those front lines of Team Red.
Yeah, I'm personally very excited to see Fizz against a three tank team. Back when I first started playing with him, I really enjoyed his ability to kind of shred through those tanks, especially tanks with not necessarily the best damage potential in the world. So if the blue team does manage to get a good pickup and sends the red team scattering, I think Fizz, if he's still alive, will be able to clean up their whole team very nicely.
Well, Fizz in any meta is either completely broken, OP, ban on every game, or he's going to be in a position where he's not playable. In this meta, I don't know where he would be right now, where everyone's still trying to feel out this rune change. So I'm excited to see the potential that we might encounter this game for the rest of the split.
Yeah, especially with, as you said, the rune changes. We can't really stress enough the fact that these rune changes are still kind of making it any man's guess about where we're at with the champion selections, who's strong, who's weak, everything in that nature. So just, spinning this up and seeing where we're at will be very exciting to see in the next couple of minutes.
I'm pumped, and looking at it, I think they're pumped. I see some skin coordination in there, a whole lot of pool party going on. So we're really feeling the synergy already, Kinos. I'm pumped.
Well, you're pumped, I'm pumped, everybody's pumped. Let's get into it. Alright, starting off here. Teams seem to be coordinating for some kind of jungle. Maybe not even so much jungle, but just a little bit of a look-see to kind of keep an eye out there.
I don't know about that. It looks like blue teams looking to fight. They've got their fighting faces on, and it looks like it's starting off right now. Leona separated from the rest of the team, caught up in a knockup by Cho'Gath.
Oh, they might.
The stuns are coming out.
Burn the flash. Almost didn't get away there. That would have been quite exciting if they could have gotten that pickup right away. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem as though they managed to get that. But the burn flash, of course, is worth it.
And they didn't pay a single fee for it, so they come out ahead in that ledger book.
All right. So just happy with their flash. They're heading back to just a basic setup. Lulu certainly having a good time down there in the bush, giggling her little head off. Non-stop. And it looks like Leona, little worse for wear. Doesn't seem like she picked up any items to make up for her little bit of a drawback there, but we'll have to see if it works out for her. And mid, of course, is already engaging. So
Little tit for tat play in the mid lane while the rest of the lanes add up. Cho'Gath pinging it out.
yeah, Cho'Gath, keep an eye on that Gnar because you don't want any of those surprise ganks coming out.
An early game death on the mid side for that Fizz would mean incredible trouble for the blue team.
Certainly, and we already have Sejuani possibly trying something here, going in right away, maybe trying to take advantage of the fact there is one flash less down there, and the Leona does end up getting very low, but probably won't get taken out.
She made it very low, but look at those health bars. They definitely may have targeted their damage on Leona, but everybody walked away hurt. There's this balance book, this trade system that they're going through right now. Incredibly exciting, and exactly what we called early before the game. Targeting the Clark early and hard.
Alright, mid lane is just, seems to be pretty even at this point. Fizz is pushing the lane in, making the Veigar work for his CS. Always good to see. Oh, and we missed the first blood. How unfortunate. But there goes the Clark.
With the double kill.
The double kill.
Getting fed right off the bat. But that doesn't mean anything. We're only 3 minutes into the game right now. Still lots of time to catch up.
A lot of time to catch up, but of course one of the things we were hoping that the blue team would be able to avoid is that early advantage from the Clark.
I really hope they took into consideration this plan B, what to do if everything doesn't work out with these picks. So maybe they'll be able to roll it in another lane. Who knows?
We have a Leona possibly trying to sneak up on the Fizz. I'm not sure how well it'll work out, though, considering Veigar isn't quite as fed as one might like. But they're trying to catch the Gragas maybe here. Veigar coming in to help, does get the stun off. Flash burned, Leona comes in, roots the Fizz, and the Fizz goes down. What a disaster.
It's going to be rough. They're already digging a hole they have to climb out of. Gnar trying to ping out, trying to push out that Cho'Gath, but it did not go well for him.
So,
but that bounces the ledger. Top lane really coming back.
Yeah, definitely, and especially in this situation, a fed Cho'Gath could be just what the doctor ordered here. Slowing down the misfortune a little bit, getting a couple of hits out on her.
Well, you really can't. It doesn't matter how much damage you deal. If a Cho'Gath eats you, a Cho'Gath eats you. That's it. That's just how it works.
Yeah, for sure. So that'll be something they'll definitely be looking for. But we already have 1,000 gold lead. Obviously, as you said before, it is the early game, so 1,000 gold isn't the end of the world. But it's definitely something pointed when we have these skill differentials at certain points in the lanes. Right, Fizz returning into lane there.
It might not be the game ender, though, with these gold lead differentials. Sorry about that, Kinos.
That's fine.
With these gold lead differentials, it really depends on what they roll it into. If they're able to take those early item spikes and push it into objectives to really solidify a lead.
Yeah, certainly. It'll definitely be interesting to see how Draven does here. I was about to say, if he didn't go back right now, he might end up getting picked off in another gank. But it seems as though he's wisely heading back, little bit of a lull in the lane, and now there's a little bit more of a red presence on the field than a blue one because both Cho and Draven have gone back and are now walking back to lane.
And I think after the windfall that the red team had at the beginning of this game, you're going to see a much more conservative blue side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we already see that Fizz has put a couple more wards down, and maybe he'll take the Veigar out here. Oh, so much for conservatism. Fizz had better do some pole hopping. Oh, he took that.
Going back in, and the auto attack ends it.
Yeah, I don't agree with that decision at all. That was just underestimating the Veigar, and it cost him for sure. Now over or about a 2K lead, gold-wise. And we might just keep seeing that climb if choices keep being made like that Fizz is. Bot lane getting...
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, bot lane's getting pushed in a little bit. Gragas is coming. You think they'll go for a dive here?
I don't know if they'll go for a dive, but they want to keep this harass up, and they want to limit Draven's farm. With Draven having to catch those axes to really stack that gold, you have to be able to manage your minions, and that's difficult. But I could be wrong. There's the Gragas coming in off the side.
Now Sejuani's coming to help him out. So that's good. It would have been interesting to see if they had chosen to go for the dive there, but I think that just the timing of it wasn't in their best interest because the minion wave was more or less missing. But Fizz is rotating. Maybe just trying to make sure Dragon is all secure, because the Gragas obviously is in that area. Veigar might punish Fizz a little bit for that position, especially because Veigar is at 6 and Fizz is not. But
2-level differential in the mid lane. Not to mention, there is a slight CS difference. So the gold's definitely leaning towards Veigar. With Cho'Gath pushing in the top lane,
yeah.
double flash is going down.
Double flash. I don't know if the Cho'Gath should have stayed in there that long. He should be able to get away, but... oh, so close.
Very exciting trade, but nobody walked out a winner there.
Yeah, it would have been really interesting to see if Gnar had gone for that, but I think the range just wasn't enough on his jump to get there. Fizz looking to be in trouble again, fortunately backing out because Gragas is spotted out by that control ward, but Fizz still only level 5.
He's being poked out of lane, and there he goes. He's not able to farm. He can't push up to those minions.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem that Fizz can find himself in if he falls behind early.
Oh, Gragas going in on Sejuani.
Yeah, 2 tanks button heads together, and Sejuani wisely gets out of there before the Veigar shows up. The Veigar and Gragas might be trying to cut her off. Hopefully she jukes up and not down. Nope, she's juking down. Wait, she's going to get out, I think.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, she's good.
He didn't get the sloth in time.
Meanwhile, bot lane, a good move by the Draven. Almost gets taken out by Misfortune's ult, but manages to get a displacement off to stop her channeling just in time. Misfortune blows the flash to get the Lulu, so that was obviously a good trade for the red team, but Draven managed to keep alive, might be able to keep his farm going.
I hope so, and I think that it needs to be measured, the success that Truffle showed there when he didn't finish off that kill. Lulu could have went to the support, but he waited. They were able to coordinate, and that's even more gold going towards Misfortune.
And a dive. Oh, the stun from the Leona manages to wrap it up, but they do get the flashes out of it, so I believe there is now no flash in the bot lane, which could come into play later when Sejuani moves back down that direction.
Definitely, and they traded those 2 flashes for now a 3k gold lead.
Looks like Fizz might have some thoughts of his own. Finally hitting 6. Could get Misfortune here if he hadn't stopped for that ward. The fish range might have been able to get something done, but probably best not to risk it considering how high up Misfortune is at 0-4. Or 4-0.
Yeah, this is kind of a midnight hour situation. Blue team, what their comp was aiming to do, from what I could tell, it's just not working out this early game.
Yeah, especially if we check out the gold earned lead here. Misfortune sitting comfortably at 4,600, which is good 1,200 more than anyone else in the game right now. So that's rather scary, especially in the hands of a player like Clark.
Oh, we might have some action in the top lane as we see some players rotating in.
Yeah, in a second, Draven just got taken out again, rather out of position there, unfortunately. And it looks like they might get the Lulu as well. Very unfortunate. And so now, while bot lane is getting Dragon, like you said, there is a little bit of action top lane, but...
it petered out. This Dragon, though, that's the thing that we should be looking at, because the Fizz is trying to ping in
Fizz
there.
might actually get it! Fizz gets it!
Dragon traded his life for it, but that took some cojones, Kinos.
Yeah, that was quite impressive there, I have to say. I was wondering for a moment there about why he was wasting his ultimate, but then I realized the Leona didn't move out, and so the Shark helped take that Dragon down enough that Fizz was able to secure it. Definitely makes up for some of the missteps in the mid lane as well. Despite the 5k gold lead, having Dragon can always help.
Yeah, and that early game Ocean Dragon is going to give them that sustainability where they're going to be able to do better in these team fights. This could be a turning point for the blue team.
Yeah, especially for the Fizz, because now when the Veigar harasses him, he can just pull away, get some health back, and come back a little bit stronger than he would have otherwise.
Yeah, if there is any team fighting, if there is any left to do, with that turret going down, his job just got 20 times harder.
Yeah, Vagar's creeping around. He's waiting. And the Leona swooping in as well. Definitely moving much faster with those mobility boots. Able to get that CC off much quicker. Definitely a concern, especially with the amount of red in the jungle right now. Draven and Lulu are going to have to be very careful.
If we were to analyze this game strictly on wards alone, it's not even a contest. You can see where they're putting their money, and that's in division.
Oh, we got Cho's coming in behind the red team. Of course, spotted out immediately by a ward, so this may not be the best choice for him, but does some significant damage to the Vagar. Vagar goes down thanks to Fizz. Fizz flashes out to get out of there. 1-1 so far. Misfortune's all does a lot of damage, but doesn't finish anyone off. And if Blue manages to get out there, they do trade a rather solid 1-for-1.
And a big 1-for-1 with that Vigar going down. There's some shutdown gold that's there. So big props to them. That was a smart play.
Yeah, definitely. Good job by the Fizz securing the kill and getting out of there. And now getting a little bit of some of that gold back while he's pushing the mid lane. But it does look, to be fair to the red team, they are still up by 5k gold and they're getting another tower. So 3 towers to none. And now they're going to bid a slightly measured retreat, I'd say. Most likely heading up to try to stop that Fizz. Blue team does point it out, though, and the Fizz wisely retreats.
Yeah, it's like they're walking from second base to third. They're really not worried about anything right now, and I hope that plays to blue team's advantage, at least for us spectating the game.
Whew. Fizz kind of really close there. If the Misfortune had gone around that corner, he would have been in trouble, but managed to get out there. Probably just a little bit worse for wear.
Sejuani, I don't think she's going to get out of this one.
Sejuani's tankiness could surprise you, but with all those slows, yeah, it isn't good. That CC we were talking about from the champ picks definitely coming back in and dealing some big damage.
We're going to be seeing the Herald go down. I wonder if they're going to try and contest this. I think that Cho'Gath is making the movement that way. I think he would be able to do it with his ultimate. That might be some potential there, but he's going to lane. Yeah, might be a smart move.
I think that he might be able to, contest it, but not necessarily to the point where he'd be able to stop them from doing it. And considering that Draven is bot lane and their other supporting characters were out of position, it's probably just wiser to get a little bit more CS before they take down the top turret. And Fizz gets deleted again. Vagar definitely becoming scary at 4-1 and 3. Cho'Gath stretching his muscles a little bit here. Misfortune flashing to get away. A lot of stuff spilt there on the Leona, who also flashes.
And looks like she's going to get out, unless she goes back in.
Yeah, this is the second time that she's gotten out with very little health, but this time going back in. Vagar trying to blow up the Lulu, but Lulu's speed burst might manage to make her get away. They take the Clark down. First death for him, but Cho's probably going out. But, another 1-for-1, and being able to take down the Clark like that is definitely worth it, I'd say.
It's going to give them some shutdown gold that they wouldn't have had. So there are benefits, but they're pushing down that top lane. They've got the Herald with them, and that at the beginning of that team fight when Vigar was fighting Lulu, his Q alone did over 3/4 the damage of her health. They're in a tough position right now.
Yeah, no question about that. Draven was split pushing, but is now heading back to try to support his team to prevent losing 3 turrets in the top lane. And the rest of the red team is backing off. With their crab buddy gone, they've done what they needed to do. Took out the top lane, went 1-for-1. It's all working out for the red team so far, now at a 7k goal lead.
Some smart moves though. They're trying to manage this vision a little bit better. So blue might be trying to have something in the works, and it's going to start with vision control.
Yeah. Another thing that's going to start is the dragon coming up in the next couple of seconds here. It'll be interesting to see if blue tries to contest it again. Red is all in the position to go in and take this dragon though. But the same can be said for blue team. Despite being, severely down in the goal differential state, they are in a position to try to make something happen, and it has, as Fizz has shown, they've done it before, they can do it again.
Well, with this map positioning right now, with Cho chilling in the top lane, and right now he does not have his TP up, I believe.
No, it's almost coming off cooldown, but not quite.
Unless something changes, which looks like it might be right now, this is Red Team's Dragon to lose.
Yeah, Fizz out of position, but I think he should be able to get away from this if they do bother chasing him. Looks like they're hungrier for the Lulu, though. Sejuani doing some nice displacement there. Lulu's definitely going down, though, and Sejuani might too. Draven wisely hanging back in a 5v1 situation.
We're 17 minutes in, and they're cracking the inhibitor tower in the bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely kind of how we expected the game to go, because they weren't able to get a kill on the Clark until just a few minutes ago. So that let him have just the uncontested 8 kills. Well, I think it was at 7 when he ended up finally going down, but at this point it is rather significant. If we look at the gold here, yeah, we got the 2 highest gold earners are both on the red team. Though Cho is definitely trying to push up there with 6,700.
He's a good farmer. Very good farmer. And this dragon, again, being contested by the blue team. And I think that's smart. You got to fight when you're behind. And, it looks like they're pushing towards the mid lane, actually.
This probably is going to go really bad. Yeah, that's a really smart play by the blue team to back off once that dragon went down, because they did not want to get caught with a pincer in the middle there. It would not have ended well for them at all.
Clearing out some vision on the red side. Smart plays.
They're both going to get hit by misfortune here, though. Now Fizz is probably going down here. Oh, so close.
That was a big R going in. That ultimate. It was sad to see it travel in the distance it did.
Yeah, that was definitely a very, very large ball hitting a very small Fizz in the face. And so now up 5-on-4, especially with their big gold lead, almost pushing to 10k now. Red team
and they're engaging again.
Yeah, just going in somewhat under turret. Misfortune, though, getting very low.
Yeah, that was a risk, but I think that was a calculated risk on the Clark's part. But that Draven, he didn't mess around, got out of there alive.
Yeah. And that also then comes back into what we were discussing earlier about the keeping everything kind of mid-range with the champ selections. If there'd been a little bit more of a longer range champion selection out there, I don't think the misfortune would have risked that at all.
Oh, Cho'Gath pushing out on Gragas, a little bit of harass.
A little bit, definitely
doing
the damage. And Cho'Gath's pretty tanky, so he should be able to get through this, especially considering, blown flash though. Maybe
that was
not.
Painful.
That is painful, and the Gragas might, nope.
Gragas does go down. They're trying to take out the Vygar. So CC
Fizz's damage over time does manage to take out the Vygar.
So far, 2 for 2, 3 for 2. Still a good team fight.
Yeah, very impressive to see the blue team able to pull something out like that. It does definitely speak to the strength of their team. Both Cho and Fizz managed to get a lot done in that fight. It's just unfortunate that the super minions have been winning the game in the back door while this was going on.
You still got to play smart, and that's what they've been trying to do, trying to level these odds. I don't think they're going to be able to pull it off. I hope for our sake, the viewer's sake, they do. But these team fights, just like this one, not going well for them.
Yeah, that definitely painful to watch, though. It does speak to at least blue team's ability to give us a good show despite their big disadvantage, and I hope we see a lot more of them coming up in the next game of the series. Alright, so red team takes this one. We'll be catching up with the blue team in the losers match against whoever lost our other game that's going on in the background right now. So I hope we will see you then. Any other quick thoughts here, Sig, before we go to a break?
I want more than anything the blue team to realize how well they performed under the pressure that they had. They played with dignity, and there was some real strengths there that this upcoming split, what we're going to see from them, going to be exciting.
Yep, definitely. All right, we're going to go just to a quick break, and then we'll be back for the next set of games. Stay tuned.